Greetings, mighty companions, and welcome back to Transforming Relationships with Anna K. Quinn and Greg Quinn.
Yay!
The Quinns,
Quinns are here.
otherwise known as the Silver Eagles.
The Silver Eagles.
In the house.
All right, so here we are, and I'm so excited to be back talking truth because I love our Tuesday class. I love where Spirit's guiding and direct us. I get so excited that by the end of class, it's like, okay, calm down. But the top of my totem pole, and I know the top of Anna's, is reading and learning from truth. Reading about truth. And for us, we just love it. It's like, you know, when you pick up a good book that you don't want to put down, or a movie that you just can't stop watching it. It's that favorite one. And that's A Course in Miracles for us. So I love it when we are able to come back, say, Spirit, what would you have us read and understand and learn and talk about and share together? And here we are once again.
We had a really amazing new experience this past weekend, and then we're going to do random number generator, and Greg goes, I cannot wait to see what Spirit picks tonight after that. And we were like, yeah, that's going to be good. So then this is it. This is that time.
And this is that time. What's Spirit going to say now that you have this amazing miracle with you?
Exactly. So, all right. So we're going to do just a very brief, what we call random number generator prayer, where we just put Spirit in charge and ask Spirit to decide for us where in A Course in Miracles we go to, and then we'll let Spirit pick through the random number generator. All right?
Beautiful.
Okay, beautiful. So let's get comfortable. Assume the spiritual position. Whatever that may be for you. Whatever that may be for you.
Allows you to get your mind quiet.
Exactly. All right, so let's just start by taking a deep breath and just letting go of our day, letting go of everything that's not happening right now, allowing our minds to come back home to the present moment, and instructing our minds that it is safe for our minds to rest and just be and open. And we tell our minds it's safe to relax. It's safe to put down the past. It's safe to put down everything that we learned in the past and truly open our minds to what Spirit is trying to teach us, that we might be free in our minds, free to accept our inheritance as children of the light. And so we just breathe and be present. And as we tune our awareness to the frequency and the vibration of the now, let us also tune our awareness like a dial on a radio to see if you can feel the presence that lives in the present. Your higher self, your true self, your only loving self. And as we feel for this presence that lives in the present, let's communicate with it. Higher self within me, divine intelligence within me, I ask you to decide for me where in A Course in Miracles that we go, because you know the prayer of my heart. You know my calls for love and my calls for help, and you know exactly how to answer them with unconditional love and exquisite, unmatched brilliance. And so we ask you to be in charge of this healing circle, this time that we devote to hearing the truth about us and being healed by it. Decide for healing for us. Be you in charge, and thank you in advance, because we are certain that your direction does bring us peace. Thank you.
Amen.
All right, that's how we do it.
We always say on Tuesday night, you can make all the right investments in the world right, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have the first investment right, you know, seek ye first the kingdom first. Seek ye first
the truth.
Love's way to do it first. If you don't have that foundation set at the beginning, then the rest of it doesn't matter. It's going to be set to doom.
That's right.
But when you get this part of life right, where you learn, okay, it's not working out good for me if you and I are the same. For me to condemn you is to condemn myself. Oh, okay, I get it. I'm starting to see. We got to get those principles right. Get invested in that first.
Yes.
Before we worry about any other kind of investment.
Any kind of material investments.
That's right.
You know, the best investment is investing in learning the truth about yourself, the truth about the nature of reality, which is loving, and the truth about your nature as a child of light. That's the best investment that you could ever make. Like, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else is added. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven means seek ye first the truth about yourself as a guiltless child of God. That's the kingdom of heaven. That's heaven. That's reality. That's what we're doing today. And then on Tuesday we talk about, you know, investments in terms of the material world and what's the best way to invest in the material world. So beautiful.
And seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all this shall be added unto you, means the same as when you get truth right, everything else can't
falls
but
into
help
place.
to go right.
Exactly.
Everything else can't but help to go right. As Anna said, everything else just falls into place.
Yes.
It's not like everything else will be added unto you.
Right.
Everything is now just working right.
Exactly.
Now it's working right.
Yeah,
now you're not
so
working
easy.
against the universe.
Exactly.
You're working with the universe in harmony with the way creation was supposed to work.
Exactly.
And now when you get that, it's like, oh wow, going this
man,
way.
This is easy.
All the kinks in my back are now out, not hurting.
No, stress free.
My knees don't hurt no more. Going it this way. Oh
no strain.
This is much better.
No strain.
That other way was so strainful.
So strenuous.
Okay, we have random number generator set up on this beautiful color of 0. And my beautiful, lovely mate wife is going to push the button.
16.
And everybody knows what 16 is.
It's all about relationships.
All about relationships.
It's all about relationships.
You can cry if you want to.
Or celebrate.
All about relationships.
That's right.
And you can party if you want.
And celebrate, because you're going to hear something that you haven't heard before that might actually work. And work a lot better than any relationship advice you've ever received in the past. Course in Miracles gives a lot of relationship advice, but
so there's 7.
But it's relationship advice that works.
7 sections and 16 in the annotated.
Okay. Oh, okay, great. So let me find 6. And so you said 7 sections. Okay.
And it went to pink, of course.
Okay. And
then now we're back to, we're gonna change it to see what Spirit would have us read of the 7 sections.
All right.
Section 5.
So it's 16:5.
The ritual of the death of God. The ritual of the death of God
is another name that the Course in Miracles refers to as the special relationship.
I can just
Woo, baby.
I can just see going to the movie theaters and you see all those big charts on the wall that show you the releases that are available to look at, and you can tell by looking at them a lot of times in the title whether you're remotely interested or not. And you see this one up there that says
the ritual
of the death of God.
Yes. Now that is the original title of that section, but that was edited into let's see, True Empathy, chapter 16. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yes. Hold on. The reward, joy of teaching, reward of teaching. Okay. In what it was edited to, because obviously that was very triggering. That triggered somebody who was editing that.
That's what I was saying. Could you imagine after the title on the movie?
And let me tell you,
who would go in to see that
nobody.
movie?
That title, The Ritual of the Death of God, or you could say The Ritual of the Death of Love, was edited to the illusion and the reality of love.
Does that start out with the same sentence of looking
yes,
at the special relationship?
I'm pretty sure. Yes, exactly. So if you have the blue covered edition and you want to follow along, it's chapter 16, section 4, the illusion and the reality of love. And that's exactly what we're about to talk about. Okay. And so we're talking about in this section the special relationship. Okay. And so I'll just give you a little, in case you don't know how A Course in Miracles defines the special relationship. The special relationship is a relationship where you're only playing out the ritual of love, but it ain't real love. It's competition, it's power and control games, it's bargaining, dimension competition, it's comparison, it ain't real love. And in our reality, in our world, the ritual of love, fake love, passes. The illusion of love passes for the reality of love. So what we have learned about love is not love. So
okay, and the blue book is section 5.
Yeah. Oh, it's section 5. Okay, section 5.
So it's the same section, 16:5 in both books, but
they have a different title.
In the blue book, it's the choice for completion.
Oh, okay. The choice for completion. So it's 16:5.
Instead of the ritual of the death of God, it was changed to the choice for completion, but it picks up at the same place.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful.
And looking at the special relationship.
Beautiful. So we're going to be talking about the special relationship, which is the fake love relationship. It has the form of love. We say, I love you, I'm doing this because I love you, but it's not real love.
Are you saying we have a fake relationship?
I am. And in this world, the fake love is what passes for real love. So in this section, we're first going to start by talking about what is fake love that passes for real love in this world. But obviously, it's not real love because look at the results. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So.
And it doesn't work.
And it doesn't work. It doesn't produce more love.
That's what we talk about on Tuesday nights with money is fake money compared to real money.
Exactly.
Fake money never works and never has.
Exactly.
And, all of these things are universal laws.
Yes.
You can apply them to anything. And if it doesn't, if it's not love, which is real, then it's fake. And whatever is fake is not lasting.
Exactly.
It's never lasting. It comes and goes like the Quinn.
Yes.
Here today and gone in a flash.
Yes, like on Tuesday we're talking about fake money versus real money. On Sundays we're talking about real love versus fake love. Now fake love is where you get together and you're like, I love you, I love you, I love you. And it's like, okay, we love each other, all right, now what are we going to give up for each other and call it love? And
what are we going to do to prove that we love each other?
Exactly. And also, what do I need to sacrifice to keep your love? And what you need to sacrifice to keep my love.
Which is the way you prove that you really
Exactly.
love me. You
That's right.
give up going to bowling every Wednesday.
Exactly. And a fake love is a love that the more you are together, the more unloving you feel. You feel like you're receiving less love from them. They feel like they're receiving less from. It gets less loving. Have you ever been in a relationship where it started off real loving, but the longer it went on, the less loving you became?
Yeah. Like just at the beginning, just the way you are, I just
yes.
think you're just
oh yeah.
You're just cool like you are. I just like talking
yes,
to you.
just
and
don't
hanging out
ever
with you.
change.
And then, as you're saying, as time goes on, how many of our relationships where they wish you would quit doing
that
every time and they're like, what? I do what every time? Well, you do blah blah blah.
Right. The relationship becomes less loving
thing
over time. That's a fake love relationship. A Course in Miracles calls that the special love relationship or the special hate relationship, where it has the form of love, but it doesn't have the content of love. You know, we say, I love you, but we're not acting like we love each other. We're giving judgment, we're giving guilt, we're giving control, we're giving possession. You know, that's the difference between a fake love relationship and a real love relationship, a special relationship and a holy relationship. And so in this section, it's going to talk about the fake love relationship. Because it's saying that unless you look straight at the fake love relationship and go, well, we don't still have perfect love for each other yet, okay, but at least we know where we're at. Until you look at it and acknowledge, okay, this is not what real love does, you can't get to the real love until
you can't fix what you don't see is a problem.
Exactly. And so today in this section, we're going to look at the fake love relationship. That's a relationship that may start out loving, but it gets less loving as it goes on. And we're going to do that. Why? Because that's the only way to get to the real relationship where it gets more loving, more loving. Can you imagine being in a relationship that maybe starts loving and only gets more loving? Can you imagine that?
I can imagine that.
And why can you imagine that?
Because I'm in a relationship that really does get
more and more
yes. magical.
And me too.
It gets more and more wow.
Yes.
You know, the wows are different than the wows at the beginning. And I guess how boring would that be if it's just the same wow for, now going on 4 years or whatever of our relationship. But the wows are crazier.
Yeah.
They're just like, are you kidding? Oh, this is so spirit.
Yes.
Come on.
Exactly.
You can't make this up.
Yeah, for me, same thing. More loving.
Yeah.
I've told Greg, I just had never experienced something where it became more loving over time, over the years, more loving. And that doesn't mean we don't have our moments of fear where it's not loving, but overall it's become more and more loving. And that is because we have been practicing these principles in our relationship.
And everybody knows this type of relationship where you get into it and the ego thoughts taunt you with it. It's like, well, we don't do such and so like we did
at the
beginning. Like we used to always go out at least, once or twice a week. I've been dated and escorted and taken out and showing how much I was appreciated.
Yeah.
And now what?
Yeah.
But everybody knows the kind of relationship where it changes, but it changes in a way that
Less loving.
It's less exciting. It's less loving. It's less, engaging. Where you're still like you were at the beginning, engaged. And our relationship is definitely different than it was at the beginning, and thank God it is, because it really is this saying of just getting better and better and better, from going to glory to glory to glory. It's just we often say to each other, man, Spirit, you should stop being so humble, because you are good at what you do.
Genius.
I mean, we're recognizing how good heaven can and will be the more trust we put into heaven's hands, of letting the other person be the way they are without judging and condemning, and trusting more in the Creator rather than in me wanting things to be the way I want them to be.
Control.
Yeah, and giving up that control more and more, and that requires trust.
It sure does.
It requires a lot of trust.
And not in each other, not in the other person, but trust in Spirit.
Yeah.
Trust in Spirit's plan, Spirit's will for happiness for both people. Like, Spirit has a plan where it's a win-win for both people. Spirit's got a plan like that for your relationship like that. But unless you're trusting in Spirit's plan for your relationship, the win-win plan, then you can't experience Spirit's plan, because you're making up your own plan. And the unloving old plan for the relationship was, I'm going to control this relationship. I'm going to control that person, or I'm going to control myself, and it'll be loving. I'm going to make them love me the way I think I should be loved, and I'm going to control myself so that I can get that love. Okay, so and so Greg and I have been applying these principles, and it has given us a relationship unlike every relationship we've ever had in our past. And we're old. You know, it's not like we just started doing relationships yesterday.
Which right there tells you we haven't had this in any other relationship we've had, which tells you it wasn't our partners.
No, it wasn't that we didn't have the right partner.
It tells you it was us.
Yes.
Because if we would have been applying these principles in those relationships, we would have been experiencing the results.
Exactly.
That's just how it is.
But it's also possible that we had partners that they didn't want to apply these principles in the relationship.
That's true.
So that too,
but we didn't have to do anything about that.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of the courses. Once you start trusting and you say, well, how is this going to possibly work in this situation? You don't have to figure it out on your own.
No.
It will be shown in front of you what to do.
Exactly. And in my case, Spirit said, just be true to applying these principles as best you can. And if the partner that you're with doesn't want to apply these principles, they will self-select out. And they will do it themselves.
Yeah, meaning what?
Meaning that
it'll be like boring for them.
Exactly. It'll be boring for them or whatever. But so of course, in Miracles says, so if you have a partner that doesn't want to apply those principles, that doesn't mean don't stop applying those principles. Either your partner will come on board because they see the results, or that partner will self-select out because that's not the direction they want to go in.
And it doesn't make them bad, they just have another pathway.
Exactly. So,
well, I like the title because I like how they originally came through, but I like the title, The Ritual of the Death of God, because it just shoots out there and tells it like it is. Do you know that we collectively have this ritual that we do, which means what? Repetitive.
Yes.
Like, there they go again, they're getting the Christmas lights out. Why? Because they have a ritual. At this time, all the time we do something. Well, at a certain time, you and I collectively have a ritual where God is dead.
In our relationships.
Yes.
And you could substitute the word God for love. That the old type of relationship is a ritual where we celebrate the death of love. So it goes like this. The ritual of the death of love goes like this. I want you to sacrifice who you really are for me in the name of love. And you're like, all right, well then you got to sacrifice who you really are for me in the name of love. And that's the ritual, and a special relationship is where we ritually sacrifice real love to get the fake love. You know, real love doesn't make any demands. Real love doesn't use guilt to control and possess. And so, but that's all we know of relationships, using guilt to control and to possess.
And which is why I was sharing that, yes, we do that, a ritual repetitively.
Yes.
We do it over and over. It's
In our
not like we have a one-time deal where we first get married and do a certificate.
No.
It's a repetitive thing that we keep doing.
Yes, every day.
We keep refining it, and that's what makes our relationships hard, is because we don't always know if we're even breaking the rules. Not being myself until somebody says, you can't do that. And it's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that triggered you.
Right.
You could be in a relationship for many years and all of a sudden, there's all of a sudden a new ritual. You need to change
for me to be happy.
And again, it's at this junction that we repetitively keep doing something, which is what kills love.
Yes.
Is trying to get, we have this ritual ceremony now. You need to act like this or talk like this or behave like this for me to feel safe.
For me to love you.
Or for me to be happy.
Or for me to perceive that you love me.
For me to be joyful.
And every time we do this, which is ritually, meaning repetitively, every time we communicate to another person, if you would change, I'd be happy. What you're celebrating is the death of love. What you're saying is, you know what, real love needs to die so I can have my way. And that's what a special relationship is. It's like, I don't care about real love, what real love would do or say. I just want you to change so I can be happy. And I want to use guilt to control you, and you to say, okay, because I love you, I will sacrifice my true self and what makes me happy for love. But the truth is that love, real love, does not demand sacrifice at all, ever, never. Real love never says you need to give up something to have love. And so, but the special relationship is the ego relationship, is the relationship where control dominates and guilt dominates. You ever been in a relationship where control and guilt dominates?
Yeah, I think we all
Absolutely. Have. I mean, has anybody ever been in a relationship where guilt and control did not dominate? That's the bigger question. And so, of course, in Miracles is teaching us how to have a relationship that is not dominated by control and possession and guilt, but a relationship that is controlled by love, which does not demand sacrifice, and yet has a yield that is greater than any yield, love yield that we've ever experienced before. And that's what got me about A Course in Miracles.
We haven't even started reading yet. And imagine if you and I could just have the awareness to remember the next time in our relationship with those that we're in relationships with, whenever we're considering having them change the way they are for our personal benefit, if we could have this image in our head of time out, I'm going to perform a ritual now where we put love
on the altar
in a cemetery box, and we close the lid on. We're gonna lower this casket down into the earth and cover it up.
Yes.
I want to perform this ritual of love. It does not exist.
Yes.
Why? Because
love is dead.
This is not how love behaves.
That's exactly right.
This is the opposite of how love behaves.
That's right.
Is my wanting to control you or to change you. That's not how love operates.
That's right. That's the death of love.
Love only wants the willing. Come willingly.
Yes.
Love never tries to control. Love never tries to mandate. You have to
possess or control you.
Love is patient. It just sits there and waits for welcome, for joining, for welcoming. Love, that's what love does. And it doesn't attack you if you're not ready to join with it. Yes. It still wants to join, and love waits to join.
Yes.
But it doesn't attack. And so once we start wanting to control and stuff, if we could have that image in our head.
Exactly.
I want to have a timeout ceremony for what? I want to,
I want to sacrifice love.
Before I say what I'm about to say, I'd like to bury love right now.
Yes.
Okay? Can we do that and then carry on?
No, nobody would.
You want to bury love and then talk to me after that?
And think about, talking about ancient rituals, and that our society as humans, our race as humans, has always had rituals where they would find the lamb without blemish, or the dove without blemish, or the virgin, supposedly without blemish. Who is it? Think about all the cultures all the way back in time. What did they do to appease the gods? They would sacrifice something without blemish. They would sacrifice the innocent.
And who
whether it was a virgin,
whether it was blemished or not?
Whether it was a virgin, or whether it was a lamb without blemish, or a dove without blemish. What we have learned in our world is the ritual of the death of God, the death of love. And so in all of our religious cultures, the history of all of our religions, there is the sacrifice of the innocent to do what? To appease the gods, to appease God. And in Course in Miracles is saying that the special relationship is we're doing the same thing in our relationships, where it's like, I'm now going to sacrifice my innocence to appease the gods of love. And that's what we're doing, not just in our religious practices, but in our relationship. And of Course in Miracles is like, no, that is not how you experience love. That is not how you please God. That is not how you please the people you're in relationship with.
Because it's not God's nature.
That's not God's will. God's like, please don't sacrifice for me. And love does not demand sacrifice. Just like God never demanded, you need to sacrifice a goat. You need to sacrifice a virgin to appease me. Love does not demand sacrifice. But the relationships we have learned is all about, you got to sacrifice for love. You got to sacrifice to appease love.
If you had to sacrifice for love, that concept in its very nature, in its very self, would mean that God is not whole and complete. Yeah. It would make God lacking and needing. I need sacrifice to be whole and complete. Well, God is already whole. That's what makes God holy. Whole and complete. That's what makes God holy. Whole and complete. Not missing, not lacking, not wanting, not needing. That's what makes God and God's own nature so restful, because God is in need of nothing. Certainly not our sacrifice. And wants us to learn the same thing.
In our relationships.
To be at the best rest in our relationship is to not need anything.
Not need the other person to change.
But we don't trust that yet. We have not learned to trust that idea yet. And we prove it by always trying to change our partners. If we were more God-natured, like we want to learn to be God-natured,
whole and complete,
love-natured, then we would act in accordance with love nature,
exactly.
Love likeness, which is letting free will be free will, and see what happens. Then, trusting free will. Well, if I let Anna have free will, oh my gosh. Oh, let me write a book of all my fears. All my fears. No, that would not be safe at all. My goodness.
And so Anna cannot be free.
And so it makes me lacking, because that demonstrates my belief in lack.
Yes.
And I need her to fill that lack, which is impossible for
exactly.
it to come from her.
Yes, exactly.
And God doesn't need it from us any more than we pretend like we need it from each other,
exactly.
as if God acts that way.
Exactly.
And because God must be like us, lacking and needing to fill that lack from others, God must, what would he want? We can't do anything. He has everything. Oh, sacrifice.
Sacrifice an innocent one. A virgin.
That's the only thing we can give God, because God doesn't have lack. That's the perfect Christmas gift. Yes. We can give God lack. God doesn't. That's the one thing God doesn't have. Let's get him lack this year.
Exactly.
You'll love it, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
Okay, so now with that intro,
that's a long intro.
We're going to talk about the special relationship, which is a relationship based on sacrifice. You need to sacrifice in order to have love. And so we're going to talk about that first, because that's the only way, according to the Course, that you can experience a relationship that's based on no sacrifice, because both partners are already complete. They don't need sacrifice for love. Here it goes. In looking at the special or ego relationship, it is necessary first to realize that the ego relationship, the special relationship, involves a great amount of pain, period. Drop the mic.
The relationship where you go, time out, I'm going to do a ritual where I bury love.
Right.
Where God is dead, where love is dead right now, because this isn't how love operates. It's when you do that kind of ritual to change somebody else, there's going to be a lot of pain. It involves a great amount of pain.
It's necessary to realize that if you're in a relationship that involves sacrifice, where they got to change for you to be happy, or you got to change for them to be happy, you need to realize first that that is going to be a relationship that involves a great amount, not a small amount, a great amount of pain. Have you ever been in a relationship that involved a great amount of pain?
Sacrifice.
Same thing.
You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this.
Same thing.
And the more of those you can't do, the more restriction, the more confinement, it gets to would get to the point that you could not enjoy that relationship, because you can't do nothing that involves being yourself. Well, it goes to that extreme to a little bit of you can't be yourself, and how deep are you into that, of having to give up yourself, because that will reflect how much pain you're in your relationship.
And so if you are experiencing a great amount of pain in your relationships, whatever kind of relationship you're in, whether it's family, colleague, romantic, it doesn't matter. If there is a great amount of pain, you are in a special relationship. You are in an ego-dominated relationship. Okay, lots of pain, ego-dominated relationship. No need, a lot of control. You can just know that it's an ego-dominated relationship, not a love-dominated relationship.
You could say it's not yet a love-controlled relationship.
It's not a love-dominated.
Because it's not operating as love would operate. If it were, then there would not be what we're getting ready to hear, these words coming up.
Exactly. It says, anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack all enter into the special relationship, the ego-dominated relationship, broken into only by periods in which the pain, anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack seem to be gone.
That's why the same story. This is the same fight we
We
always have.
What is the same thing?
Because it seemed to be gone, and then the thought comes up
But it's not.
again, and it's because it was never gone.
The pain, the anxiety, the despair, the guilt, and the attack didn't go away just because you had a happy weekend.
Yeah.
Just because you had a fun weekend. And so the special relationship, the ego guilt-dominated relationship, involves a great amount of pain, great amount of anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack, broken into by periods in which the anxiety, pain, despair, and guilt, and attack seem to be gone. We call that a happy weekend.
And it's the course's nature of teaching us to wake us up to, this is the results of a special relationship. And if you say to yourself, that sounds like the relationship that I'm in, then it's like, well, okay, well, good. Then you recognize the symptom.
And you can't get somewhere different if you don't know where you're at right now.
No, you have to see where you're at.
So the ego is like, well, I don't want to look at the special relationship that I'm in. I don't want to see that the relationship I'm in is not real or not only dominated by love. I don't want to look at it. Well, I don't want to look at it. I'm just going to like gloss over that. I don't want to look at that. But unless you look at it and go, oh, I see where I'm at, you can't get to a new kind of relationship unless you see the kind of relationship that you're in right now. So being honest, looking at it honestly, is the way to get to a new kind of relationship. You can't get to a new kind of relationship just by going, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to look at that. I do not want to look at the kind of relationship I'm in right now. I don't want to look at that. I would just like to go along with the illusion of the loving relationship. I want the illusion. I don't want the real thing. And so I'm not going to look at the pain, anxiety, despair, and guilt and attack that has entered my relationship. I don't want to look at that. I'm going to be in denial about that, thinking that that's going to give you a relationship that is a really loving relationship that only gets more loving. So it's saying that you can't get to the real love relationship unless you look at the fake love relationship. And don't be ashamed. We've all created special relationships. We've all created special relationships. So don't feel ashamed, like, well, don't feel ashamed. Just go, okay, that's a special relationship. That's a special relationship. Okay, and this is a special relationship. And I would like to learn how to have a real love relationship with this person. And that's what this is about. But you can't get to that unless you look at the unreal love relationship that you have co-created.
And the truth of the matter is, the Course, like any wise teacher, wants us to learn these principles with one another. Like Anna and myself in this relationship. Maybe with you and your co-worker at work, or you and your neighbor. Just with one-on-one, and then you can see, wow, when I apply this into this relationship, look at our relationship now. And then you realize, oh, I can start applying this to more of my relationships I'm involved with. And the goal of the Course is to get us to a place where everything in the world, in our environment, in our experience, we no longer are trying to control it or change it. We're working in harmony with everything as it's happening, in unison with it's happening, and just always asking Spirit, how would you have me flow in this experience? How would you have me operating? Who would you have me talking to? What would you have me saying? And that's the ultimate goal. But too many of us want to jump to the end and just behave like, oh, that's how I am. But Spirit's telling us, learn it from the basic roots first. Learn to be love with one other of God's creation, of love's creation. And then when you get that down, blossom out.
Exactly.
From
Generalize.
There. Don't try to
generalize
do the whole universe, eat the whole bowl of soup at once. Eat one bite at a time.
And we've got plenty of relationships that involve a great amount of pain, anxiety, despair, and guilt and attack. So just pick one.
Yes.
And then that'll teach you how to generalize that lesson to all the rest of them.
Yes.
Okay. Now it said, in looking at the special relationship, the ego-dominated relationship is necessary first to realize that the special relationship involves a great amount of pain, period. Anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack all enter into the special relationship, broken into by periods in which the pain, anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack seem to be gone. Now, all these things, pain, anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack, all of them must be understood for what they are, period. Oh, okay, well, what is pain, anxiety, despair, and guilt, and attack? What is it? They are, whatever form the anxiety, despair, pain, guilt, attack take, whatever form they take, they are always an attack on the self to make the other person guilty. Period. What? The pain, the anxiety, the despair, the guilt, and the attack, those are all me attacking myself to make the other person feel guilty?
And we're talking about this earlier today, is when you look at people like the Putins of the world that are attacking themselves, you know, you're used to hearing that as when you're looking at the Putins who are attacking Ukraine. You see, he hasn't come to the learning yet stages. He's learning, but he hasn't yet developed his learning stages of what I do unto another, I'm doing unto myself. It's not so much treat others as you would have them treat you. It's treat others the way you're gonna be treated. And some people are still learning that. In fact, most all of us, we're all learning that. I'm still learning that, you know, to treat myself the way I want to be treated. And every time I treat you, it's me demonstrating how I want to treat myself. And here we're reading, whatever form these take, the anxiety, the despair, anything that's not loving, anything that's not loving, that pain in my back, whatever, and whenever these pains in my body come up, now I know that's a form that's not loving. And Anna and I, in our relationship, we even talk it out loud like that around our house together. Is, oh man, my knee's really been bothering me. I wonder what I've been doing to bring this upon myself, because that's a form.
It's a form
that's gonna take.
It's a form that is a form of an attack on ourself to make the other person feel guilty.
So there was probably some point in this week where I go, why does the dentist have you come in and sit here for a half hour in the lobby before, and we had an appointment at 10:30, and why did, I finally get in at 11, why didn't we make the appointment at 11? In other words, try to change how things are. We don't realize how much we do it all day long.
And we want to make the other person feel guilty.
Right.
Admit it. Admit it.
Because they're doing it wrong.
We all have an addiction to making the other person feel guilty. But can you make somebody else feel guilty while you are the picture of radiant happiness and health? Is somebody else going to feel guilty if you're like the picture of radiant abundance and health? No. You can't control another person with guilt unless you in some way, shape, or form are suffering. I can't make you feel guilty to change and do what I want you to do if I'm like 100% happy and healthy and abundant. But if I'm suffering with some kind of pain, anxiety, despair, guilt, or attack, then I can manipulate you to feel guilty enough to change for me, to sacrifice for me.
Which will only bring you more pain.
Exactly.
And anxiety.
So whatever form the pain, anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack take, whatever form they take, they are always an attack on yourself to make the other person feel guilty.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, so...
That's what you're giving up in exchange.
That's your sacrifice.
Is, well, ha ha ha, I made her feel guilty, not realizing that you just literally
attacked yourself. Right. And so, in saying whatever form the pain, anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack take, they are always an attack on yourself to make the other person feel guilty. Because listen, nobody is going to change for me. Nobody else is going to be what I want them to be, change for me if I'm not suffering. If I'm not suffering, I'm partying like a big dog, rich and happy and healthy, and I say, I would like you to change for me. They'd be like, why do you need me to change for you? You're like partying like a big dog. So unless I'm suffering, nobody will feel guilty enough to sacrifice for me in the name of love. So that's the point here. A special relationship is where I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to give myself pain, anxiety, despair, and guilt and attack so that you will feel guilty enough to sacrifice for me in the name of love. I know that's hardcore, and most people don't like to hear it. This is the chapter where people stop reading A Course in Miracles. I just want you to know that. When they get to chapter 16, they're like, yeah, I don't know about that. And then they put A Course in Miracles on the shelf, or they take the book to the used bookstore, or they give it away. This is the point where people give away A Course in Miracles book and they stop doing it. Because the special relationship where we control each other with guilt and our own suffering, that is one of the most worshipped gods on earth.
Well, because it makes me feel safe, you know, that if I tell you, you know, you need to be home at this time, whatever the trigger is, it makes me feel safe. I'm acting like I know what makes you feel I pray safe. God keep me safe, but my demonstration is I know what keeps me safe. You know, I'm not trusting God to keep me safe, love to keep me safe, the universe to keep me safe. I'm trusting in me, and it's demonstrated by me trying to control how everything is around me. Well, that's not trusting, you know, something outside of me. That's love.
I mean, God, did it ever make you feel more safe?
And of course it did, because the more blocks you put up, you know, fear blocks of I need you to be this way, then the more I want to add to it and add to it until I'm in a relationship with a fake person.
Exactly.
Because they're not allowed to be themselves. And I have this illusion I'm in relationship with them. But they change so much because of me that I don't even know them. And I just made them the way I created them to be now.
And it still didn't make you feel safe, and now you're like, I'm bored. They're not satisfying me.
Right.
Wait a minute, I changed for you to feel safe, but yet you're still not now you're not satisfied. Now you're bored with me.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, so, you know, this special relationship is where we attack ourselves and give ourselves, our own self, pain, anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack. And then we say, look at how I'm suffering. Won't you please change to make me happy? And that's a special relationship.
And not realizing, as we're saying that, there's the wake-up call. The Course is saying you can keep doing that. You've been doing it.
We've been doing it
and
for
you're
lifetimes.
and you're really good at it.
Oh yeah, real good at
But
it.
here's the difference. Because love loved us so much, love brought the knowledge to us in the form that we're reading it right now. However it comes to you, love came to us and said, listen, you can do it that way. You can keep trying to control it and feel safe by you controlling it and moving the pieces around the way you
and attacking yourself
and
to make them feel guilty.
Doing it through guilt, this artful, crafty,
Very
magical way of, I'll just make them feel guilty and then they'll take the trash out on Tuesdays like they're supposed to. They'll behave the way I want them to behave.
Because I've showed them how much I'm suffering.
Yeah, and I'll give up some things for them, we'll play this trade-off game. Not realizing every time that we even allow them to do it, you should love your partner enough not to do it for them, because all you're doing is agreeing for them to attack themselves for you to change.
Exactly.
And when you recognize, oh, wait a minute, I know universal laws, and if I change for them, we're going to have to work something out where I don't have to change her, because I recognize that they're literally, it's going to come to them in anxiety or despair or guilt. They're literally attacking themselves. Before I didn't used to see that, now I see it. And I thought I was loving them by changing, but to really love them is not allow them to attack themselves. That's not good and healthy. And what do? I ask Spirit for help.
Exactly.
How can I do this to where I don't have to change, so I don't have to give up myself? And I obviously enjoy doing it, I wouldn't be doing that. And more importantly, to help my brother and my sister not attack themselves.
Exactly.
And I don't want to make somebody change, because I'm recognizing what we're talking about in class today. Several people mentioned that are course students and have learned these principles, that I'm tired of, once you recognize, I'm tired of the effects that gives me when I try to change people. And so I don't want to do that anymore. You do learn that when you start seeing the connections of connecting the dots.
And so apparently there's two ways of getting the other person to change so that you can be happy. And one is we give that person guilt. Hey, if you loved me, or if you were a good husband, if you were a good wife, if you were a good child, if you were a good parent, then you would do da-da-da-da-da for me. Okay? There's another way that's far more subtle and far more insidious, and that is where you hurt your own self. So that without having to say, hey, could you do such and such for me? Without having to say that, they themselves look at you and see your suffering, your face of crucifixion, as the Course in Miracles call it. They see, and they themselves go, oh, I don't want them to hurt, and so I'll change. One is
thinking they're being merciful.
Exactly. Thinking that they're not realizing that you hurt yourself to control and manipulate them. And if they go, hey, you hurt yourself to manipulate me with guilt, oh, why would I ever ask for cancer? Why would I ever ask for this? Why would I ever do that? You're so mean. Why would you say I'm choosing this pain, anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack, and sickness just to manipulate you? That's terrible. And so there's two ways that we manipulate people so that they will change for us to be happy. We either outright do it. Hey, why don't you do blah, blah, blah? If you were different, I'd be happy. Or we just get sick and hurt ourselves and give ourselves pain, anxiety, despair, and guilt, and self-attack, and then hoping that the other person will go, oh, that person's suffering so much. I need to sacrifice my freedom, my truth, myself, in order to, make them happy. And so, but that's the central dynamics in a special relationship as opposed to a holy relationship. You know, I'm either outright controlling you with guilt, or I'm passively attacking you with hurting myself, so that you would never think to do what you really want to do, because you look at me and here I am suffering at home. So it's two levels. We're talking in the special relationship of control and manipulation through guilt, so that they will sacrifice who they are, their own happiness, for us. Mm-hmm. We can either do it, you know, outwardly, you know, or we do it like, you ever heard of passive aggressiveness? Mm-hmm. Passive aggressiveness is where I hurt myself to make you feel guilty enough to do what I really want you to do. And that's passive aggressive. Outwardly aggressive is I'm like, you idiot, if you ever do that again, you know, look what you did to me. Look what you did to me. You know, and I cannot be happy unless you change. So either way it goes, we're talking about the content of a special relationship. A relationship that is a relationship that you are controlling and you are manipulating, as contrasted to a holy relationship where it's not you trying to control and manipulate everything all the time. It's you going, Spirit, I give you this relationship. How would you use it, Spirit? Okay, that's the difference between a special relationship and a holy relationship. But in this section, our teacher wants us to look at the special relationship and how we've been using it to control and to manipulate it. Okay, so it says, all of pain, anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack, whatever form they take, they are always an attack on the self to make the other guilty. Now, we have spoken of this before, but there are still some aspects of what's really being attempted here in the special relationship that we have not touched on yet. Okay, so what is it that we haven't touched on yet in the special relationship? I love it. Shahira says, thank you, Holy Spirit. Julie says, I've been doing this for years and didn't understand why or how to stop. Very good. Me too. Shahira says, I'm glad to get that perspective. Beautiful. Because you can't have a real relationship that's based on, I don't need anybody to change. I don't need to hurt myself to get somebody to change. The only way to get to that is to look at the way we have been using our relationships. So very simply, what we haven't touched on yet is this. Very simply, the attempt to make others feel guilty is always directed against God. Oh, I thought I was just trying to get Greg to feel guilty enough to do what I want him to do. But really, it's saying that my attempt to make Greg feel guilty enough to do what I want to do was really my attack on God. That was really me going, God, look at my suffering. Haven't I suffered enough? Have mercy on me, God.
It's sort of like God's creation. He made Anna. And Anna is flowing like water out of heaven freely. Just the way she was made. And then Greg comes along and builds a little channel here to try to channel her creation to flow the way he wants her to flow now. And now she is his creation. Yes. Look what I made. Look how my creation, hey creation, get back over here. Behave like you.
Little guilt, little attack.
And we build our channels out of guilt. And the Course is telling us exactly how we do it. This is how you have been doing it in your relationships, called the special relationship. You have been building it, making these walls a channel to get everything and everybody to fall into that channel and behave the way you want them to behave, as if they're your creation.
As if that would make you happy and feel safe.
Right.
As if that would make you feel loved.
And just rather than doing this weird concept of trusting the flow of that water as it came out of heaven. And just trusting that flow and just watching that flow the way heaven created. And instead of building these channels made out of guilt, build these channels made out of trust, which now you're not trusting Anna anymore in the way she flows.
Or yourself.
Or yourself. You're trusting in the Creator who made that life.
Made you.
And now I'm going to see where that water flows and let it go the way it goes and see what happens. And what you'll find every time in doing that is now you have a holy relationship with that flowing out of God creation, and you'll be drinking that water.
And it will satisfy you completely.
Right.
You know, we think I can't be satisfied or feel safe unless I'm controlling that person and controlling me and controlling the relationship and controlling the direction. That's what we believe. But if that were true, then we'd all be in nirvana. We'd all be blissed out because we've all been controlling each other and controlling ourselves and controlling the relationship with guilt. You know, and if controlling ourselves or the relationship or the other person with guilt work to make us happy and feel safe, we'd be in nirvana already, but we're not. And so the special relationship is a relationship where I don't feel complete. I feel like I need something from you or something from them or something from that to make me feel whole. And so now I need that relationship, and I got to control that relationship so that I can feel complete, so that I can feel safe, and so that I can feel loved. And, you know, and for the eons, that we have been practicing that form of relationship, you would think that we would go, that doesn't work. But
Einstein was right.
For the eons of years that we've been doing that and it not producing more love and more safety, you would think we'd go, that doesn't work. There's got to be a better way. Well, when Helen Schuckman, in a very contentious board meeting or whatever, a meeting of the colleagues at Columbia University, when when Bill Thetford stood up and said, there's got to be a better way than this competitive, controlling, guilty way of relating. He said, there's got to be a better way of doing this, meaning being in a relationship. And Helen Schuckman said, I join with you in finding that better way. A Course in Miracles was born. A Course in Miracles was born when someone said, there's got to be a better way of doing relationships than competing and controlling and guilt. And another person, Helen Schuckman, said, I join with you in finding that way. That's when A Course in Miracles started coming through.
Yeah, and that's when a holy relationship is born.
And that's when a holy relationship is born. And Greg and I, when we first got together, we too were like still trying to do it in the old way. You know, Greg and I didn't start our relationship like, oh, I have total peace and I don't want to control or manipulate you with guilt in any way, shape, or form, because I'm fully complete in myself.
You have married an ascended master, my love.
Greg and I.
There is nothing to fear.
I have
only love here.
I am complete in myself. I don't need Greg in any way, shape, or form to change or in any way, shape, or form, because I am complete in myself. That is not the way Greg and I started our relationship. You know, Greg and I started with that like, you know, we started with that like, I will definitely need to control you because I am not going to be safe and have love if I don't control and change you to be as would make me feel safe. But because Greg and I gave our relationship to Spirit, like A Course in Miracles taught us to do in this very chapter, now Greg and I have more of a relationship where we have less fear and more experience of completion within ourselves, less need to hurt ourselves to make the other person feel guilty enough to change. You know, on this path. At first, you're like, I'm incomplete, I'm insecure, so I'm going to change that person. I'm going to manipulate that person with guilt so I can control them and possess them to make me feel more safe. And then, as you're progressing on the spiritual path, you're like, well, that's obviously too unenlightened. So what I'm going to do is, I'm a genius. I'll hurt myself. I'll make myself sick and unhappy. And then they themselves will think to change to make me happy. And it seems like I didn't even ask for that. Oh, that's genius. But that's the progression. You go from outwardly trying to manipulate people with guilt. Then you're like, well, that's unenlightened. I'll just hurt myself and they'll get it and do it themselves. And but that doesn't work either. And then you get to A Course in Miracles and you're like, the only thing that will make this relationship truly happy and fulfilling and safe and abundant and all those things I say I want is where I give this relationship to spirit. And instead of trying to control it or manipulate it through guilt myself, I'm going to give it to spirit and say, Spirit, you know how to make this relationship truly happy and safe and abundant. So I'm giving this whole relationship to you. You take it. You do with it what you would have done with it. And then Spirit teaches us how to use our relationship for a relationship where we both feel complete. We both feel complete, where we don't have to like get something from another person because of our insecurities. And we use the relationship to continually release each other from guilt, release each other from guilt, release each other from guilt. You don't need to change for me to be happy, sweetie. You don't need to do anything to make me feel complete and happy. And we have a relationship that just gets happier and happier and more abundant and safer and more happy and more abundant. And that's what A Course in Miracles is teaching us how to do with our relationships.
In other words, to have a heavenly relationship.
Yes.
This line here, I have been one of my favorite lines in A Course in Miracles. The special love relationship, in the middle of paragraph 2, is the ego's chief weapon. I remember years ago Anna reading this in class, and that got my attention because I've been trained in different, like a lot of people growing up as kids,
martial arts,
judo classes and stuff, and so you always learn their chief weapon and their chief weakest spot, like the middle of the throat. That's their chief weak spot. You could hit another part, but why hit that when you can go for the chief
weapon against?
Chief weapon.
Right.
And if you can bring their chief weapon down, which is breathing, that's one of their chief weapons, is the ability to breathe.
A chief weapon would be knowing how to go for their breathing.
That satellite system of breathing, and the whole kingdom comes down with it.
Right.
And so here we're being told by love, hey, the enemy of your soul's chief weapon from that they use to keep you from love, from peace, from abundance, from joy,
that you say you want,
from no anxiety. It's not where pain resides. Well, it's the special love relationship.
Yes.
That's the chief weapon
for keeping you from love.
Is the idea that me controlling things around me or other people will keep me safe. That idea is the chief weapon
of the ego
to keep me out of heaven's gate.
Which means from love. The love you say you want. We all say, oh, if only I could have a love that accepts me perfectly as I am and doesn't give me guilt. And, if only I could meet the right person who would really accept me as I am and love me unconditionally. We all say we want that kind of love. But we also are using a weapon against that, unconsciously. We all say we want unconditional love, but we are all using the ultimate weapon to keep that from us.
because we already have our reasons why it needs to be different.
Yes.
As it's even coming to us.
Exactly.
And can't even enter in because we're already doing our controlling. It needs to be this way and do it that way.
We all say we want love, but here comes love. And what's the first thing we do when love comes?
Try to change it.
Try to change it. Try to control it. Try to possess it. Give it guilt. Give it guilt to change it. Okay, well then you don't, then you are weaponizing. You are defending against the love you say you want.
You're keeping yourself from love.
Exactly. You know, love comes and you go get the biggest weapon against love that you can find in your arsenal of love weapons. And you come back and you're like,
and you go, and that ain't gonna work for me.
Exactly. And then we're like, oh, why does everyone leave me? Why does everyone leave me? Oh, if only blah, blah, blah. Victim. Not realizing that love showed up and you went and got the biggest love weapon in your arsenal and you came back and you used that weapon against that love. And so, of course, love left. And then you cried victim. You cried victim. Love hurts. Love leaves. Oh, love. Oh, I'm just never gonna love again. As if love betrayed you, not realizing that you defended against love with the ego's chief weapon against love, and you used it. And you're in denial about that. And now you're like, love hurts, love abandoned me. Not realizing you went and grabbed the biggest defense against love you could find and used it against love. The chief weapon against love.
And the truth of the matter is you didn't even do it to them. What you gave them was guilt.
Yes.
It's their job to decide if they want to accept that or not.
That's right.
But the fact that you gave them guilt, you attacked yourself.
That was the weapon you used against love. And it did not appear to be a weapon. When you gave them guilt and you told them, if you don't change, you don't love me. If you love me, you'll change for me. You know, you gave them guilt, and that guilt you gave them and that control and possession you gave them did not appear to be a weapon.
Yeah.
At all.
It's just the way you did it.
That's just the way you do love. That's what we learned.
Where were you at?
Yeah.
Oh, and how much did you spend over there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you can do that, but we can't afford to. Oh.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, so.
Yeah, anyway,
so. No, don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
And so then what did you do?
Right.
And so, jab,
weapon.
Biggest weapon.
Yeah.
Biggest weapon.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Guilt. And that sneaky weapon of guilt, you know, get people or things to do, to move.
And that's what we call love. And that's what we call love. And unless you look at what you've made love to be, which is really a weapon against love, then you can't learn what love really is. And love doesn't use weapons. Love doesn't ever use guilt. Love never uses guilt to make someone sacrifice in the name of love. Love doesn't do that. And
yet most of our religious texts teach us that the way Creator is and the way God is that God gets us to behave out of guilt.
Yes.
Oh, I did something I need to feel guilty.
Yes.
So I need to change what I'm doing.
To make Creator
happy. And that make Creator happy because I changed for Creator and now the guilt is taken off of me.
Now I deserve the rewards of
Creator the whole time was saying there going, I'm not lacking. I don't need you to change for me. That would be demonstrating that I was lacking to begin with. No, just be yourself. And Creator's trusting in Creator's own creation. As creation should be trusting in Creator and Creator's creation all around us.
Exactly. Real love
not fake love.
doesn't need anyone or anything to change for it to be itself. Okay, if I had only real love for Greg, then I would not need Greg to change to make me happy. And if I was experiencing real love myself, within myself, that can only come from source, then I wouldn't be needing to give Greg guilt. Greg, you need to change for me to feel safe. You need to change for me to feel happy. You need to change for me to feel fulfilled. If I was experiencing real love, which comes from source, I would not need to give Greg guilt so that Greg would change so that I can be happy.
And in like manner, if you were receiving unconditional love, then that would mean there's no condition.
Yes.
Then you don't have to do anything.
Exactly.
You just are loved. But conditional love would be like, well, I love you, but you have to wear a different necklace.
Exactly.
Because I don't like that necklace you're wearing. It offends me. And so I'll love you whole and completely. That's conditional.
Yes.
Conditional on you doing something different.
Exactly.
And that's not unconditional love.
So conditional love is what A Course in Miracles calls the special love relationship.
The special love relationship.
And in a special love relationship or a conditional relationship, here's what you're going to experience. Pain. You're going to experience despair, anxiety, guilt, and attack. And that is what you will be experiencing if you have a conditional love relationship. So when you say, oh, I want a loving relationship, but you don't know what real love is or does, then you'll be tempted to experience, you'll be tempted to give in and sacrifice to a relationship where it's not real love.
And isn't it nice that the author of A Course in Miracles is lovingly telling us, hey, you can keep controlling, just know that out of doing that, you're attacking yourself.
And you won't experience the real love you say you want.
And you're going to experience anxiety, you're going to experience despair, and you're going to experience attack, and you're going to experience guilt yourself.
And a lot of pain.
If you give out guilt, you're going to receive back guilt or despair, because those are all the family of giving out control.
That's all the result.
It's all the effects of it. So all those effects are coming back at you. And that's okay. You know, for a lot of us, that's how a lot of our life has been, is experiencing all the effects of us giving that out to the world outside of us, and all the effects are coming back, the attacks coming back to ourselves. And of course it's just trying to wake us up and saying, hey, this is what you're doing to yourself. It's not just that you're making the other person miserable by controlling them.
Giving them guilt.
And giving them guilt. It's not that you're just making life bad and miserable for them, having a fake relationship with part of God's creation, but you're attacking yourself horribly.
Yes.
Now if you'll stop, you'll give them a life that flourishes and the way it should be, because they can flow now the way they're supposed to flow. And
be themselves.
Be themselves instinctively the way they feel like to behave and trust.
The one you fell in love with.
And even when
they were being themselves.
And even when they do things that you still think is wrong because they were being themselves, that's where it really comes in. You have to trust more than ever in letting it be and trusting that this is all going to flow in a way that is for your best interest.
Exactly.
Even if that means the two of you aren't together anymore.
Exactly.
You have to trust in where this is all flowing.
Yes.
And by you stop damming it up with your
controlling with
being
guilt,
a control freak, just
with
like
guilt.
We've been doing in our life, then you will free the river to flow the way that it was intended to flow, and that will be a life of experience, abundance, joy, happiness things like Anna and I say over and over, we could not have planned this.
Could not,
Can you believe what we just experienced this last week?
Yes.
Can you?
No.
What we experienced this last week? No.
Exactly.
And we keep experiencing week after week after week.
And that came not from controlling each other or ourselves with guilt.
Right.
You know.
And those are the effects.
And what we learned is if you don't control yourself and others with guilt, then they will be free and they will leave you. That is what we have learned about relationships. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that those you control with guilt and your fear that they will leave you are those with whom you don't have a real relationship with. You don't have a relationship that only grows in love and joy and fun and abundance. And what we have learned about love in the past is we have weaponized love. You know, we in our Tuesday classes we talked about how the American dollar has been weaponized. American dollar. Okay. What we have done with love is we've weaponized it. If you love me, you will change.
If you don't behave the way I want you to, I'm going to sanction you.
And I won't give you love.
What are you going to sanction me?
I won't give you love.
I'm going to withhold love until you start behaving the way I want.
Okay.
And I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to cook for you.
And that's what A Course in Miracles calls the special relationship. It's where you've weaponized love. Mm-hmm. Now it's not real love now, just like the dollar that we've used, that we've weaponized, is not real money. It's not real currency. Same thing in the relationship. The love that you've weaponized is not real love.
Right.
And so a special relationship is where you've weaponized love, and now you're not dealing with real love, you're dealing with fake love, and you will conditional love, and now you're not going to experience a love that only increases in joy and abundance and safety and fun. Because you've weaponized love, just like we weaponized the U.S. dollar. And so now, and what happens when you weaponize, what happens when we weaponize the U.S. dollar? It lost value.
And the other party will say, I don't want a relationship with you anymore.
I don't trust that. I don't trust that currency anymore.
Safe.
I don't want to use that.
It's not safe for me when you're weaponizing.
Exactly.
You're going to withhold love from me.
Oh, yeah.
Unless I give up bowling, that's not right.
Now I don't trust your love. And
what else are you going to expect me to give up?
Exactly. And then I go, oh, I've been deprived of love. If only I had love. I don't have love. Someone took it from me. Not realizing, no, you weaponized it, and now that's why you're not experiencing it.
And we come up with all the justifications of why we do it, just like America came up with the justifications of why it did it to them.
Exactly.
And we do the same thing. Well, I'm only doing it after all because of your actions of what you're doing.
Yes.
And so, you're forcing me, if you thought normal, like me, then I wouldn't have to come up with these laws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So that is that is part one of the unreal relationship versus the real relationship.
I'm glad you said that, because I was just going to say we should pick back up on this.
And we will.
It has so much deepness in it.
We will. We finished 2 paragraphs of this, and we'll pick back up next week on, and especially this topic.
Yeah.
The weaponization of, quote, love, as we've learned it. And then Tuesday, on Tuesday, when Greg and I do Silver Miracles and Golden Dreams class, we're going to talk about how we have weaponized the U.S. dollar to the point where nobody wants nobody trusts the U.S. dollar. And, so what is something that hasn't been weaponized and that we can use, as currency? But that's for Tuesday. But next Sunday, we will pick back up where we left off, paragraph 3, where we're going to talk about the fake love relationship versus the real love relationship, and how to recognize the fake love relationship so that we can experience a real love relationship that only gets happier and safer and more abundant as you go. That is a thing. It's real. It can happen. But you got to look at the old love weaponized relationship first before you can go, I don't want that anymore. I would like to have a real relationship.
I love it because I feel like tonight in my mind, I see the ego standing there with this, big sword and shield, this big battlefield warrior, the ego. It seems to always be dominating and winning my days. So sick of that ego character. And tonight, though, love said, hey, the cheap weapon that big warrior there has isn't that scary looking sword, it's not that shield, it's not that helmet, it's that guzzler right there. And you just need to go for that chief weapon.
Against love.
And we were shown what it is tonight in our relationships. What's the chief weapon
for keeping us from love?
Hurting our relationship.
Keeping us from the love we say we want.
Which is stop controlling.
With guilt.
With guilt. Stop doing that. And to recognize that cheap weapon will take the legs out of that scary looking beast.
From the love.
That looks like I'm not going to ever have a good, healthy relationship.
Never. Exactly.
Now you just recognize the chief thing that needs to be taken out to make this relationship better and more abundant.
Exactly. We've always been saying, if only there's not enough good men out there, if there's not enough good women out there, and thinking that that's what's keeping us from experiencing real love. Right. Not realizing we are pulling up this weapon, the chief weapon that's keeping us from love, a weapon we're wielding.
Yeah, I want to control it.
Yeah, we don't realize we're wielding the ultimate weapon that's keeping the love we say we want from us. We think it's not enough good men, not enough good women. And no, it's something you're using to keep yourself. It's a weapon you're wielding and using that's keeping you from love. It's not that there's not enough love out there. That's not it at all. There's plenty of love out there.
And you're going to attract somebody who doesn't guilt, doesn't control, is loving and on the path of wanting to have that kind of relationship.
When you stop using.
When you stop doing it, you'll draw them in.
Exactly.
But when you're out there and you recognize, well, I don't want to be with this person because they're trying to control me.
Yes.
And I recognize I don't want to be in a fear-based relationship.
Yes.
Then you can quickly recognize this isn't what I want. And I'm not going to change for people. And so that's not what I want. That's not what I want. And because now you're behaving like that, you're going to open up the drawbridge for the other person behaving like that. So when you two do get together, they're going to recognize you. And you're going to recognize them. They're going to recognize you and say, wow, what a breath of fresh air.
Hallelujah, it's a miracle.
This person doesn't try to control me. Wow.
With guilt.
Where am I ever going to find another person like this again?
Exactly.
Whoa.
And you're going to appreciate them, and they're going to appreciate you, and then your relationship only gets happier and healthier and more abundant and more free and more fun. And that is what A Course in Miracles is offering to us. And that's what we're talking about. And so next Sunday, we will pick up from paragraph number 3.
Beautiful.
All right. You guys are
awesome.
Thanks
for hanging in there.
Thanks for hanging in there. And appreciate, and if you want to support this ministry and you want to support these ideas going out into the world, then share this class on your social media platform, whatever that may be. We appreciate you guys so much. And we'll see you next time we see you.
You guys are the best
You're
in
awesome.
our world. Thank you. Love you.